that blurred into static, and for a moment, the world felt suspended between two versions of reality, one where she was simply a driver being stopped, and another where something deeper, quieter, and more familiar was unfolding beneath the surface. Angela rested her hands in her lap now, fingers loosely intertwined, her breathing even, her gaze steady but not fixed, taking in the reflection of the flashing lights across the dashboard, the faint outline of her own face mirrored in the windshield, calm and unreadable. She thought briefly of the people she had seen earlier that day, the nervous young man who had avoided eye contact until she spoke his name with respect, the elderly woman who had clutched her purse tightly until she realized she was being heard, truly heard, and how something as simple as dignity could change the entire weight of a moment. Out here, that same principle hovered unspoken, fragile but present, waiting to see whether it would be honored or dismissed. A light breeze moved through the open window, carrying with it the distant hum of the highway, a reminder that beyond this narrow stretch of road, life continued uninterrupted, indifferent to the quiet tension gathering here. Angela closed her eyes for a brief second, not in frustration, not in fear, but in grounding, as if aligning herself with something deeper than the moment, something that could not be shaken by a raised voice or a misplaced assumption. When she opened them again, nothing about her posture had changed, nothing about her expression had hardened, but there was a clarity there, a stillness that did not ask for recognition and did not depend on it, a presence that remained intact regardless of how it was perceived. And as the officer's figure moved in the distance under the glow of his own headlights, one truth held steady beneath everything else. She knew exactly who she was, even if he did not. Officer Daniel Brooks sat inside his patrol car with the doors slightly open, one foot planted on the pavement, the other still inside. As the radio murmured low in the background, and the glow from the dashboard illuminated the edges of his face in sharp lines of blue and white, his eyes moving between the license in his hand and the rearview mirror where Angela Carter's car remained still, quiet, almost too composed for what he believed this situation should be. He had done this hundreds of times before, routine stops along long stretches of road measured in miles of habit and assumption, moments where decisions were made quickly, often without question, guided by instinct that he rarely examined because it had never failed him in a way that forced reflection. To him, the scene outside had already formed its shape the moment he saw the car, the driver, the setting, all fitting into a pattern he trusted more than any formal explanation. And even now, as he looked down at the clean, unremarkable details printed on the card, something in him resisted the simplicity of it. The name Angela Carter sat there in plain text, nothing unusual, nothing that justified the edge in his tone or the suspicion in his approach. Yet he found himself scanning it again, as if expecting something hidden between the letters, some confirmation that the unease he felt was not entirely his own creation. He leaned back slightly, exhaling through his nose, the sound quiet but deliberate, as he reached for the onboard computer, typing in the information with practiced efficiency, each keystroke a small assertion of control, a way to anchor the moment in procedure rather than uncertainty. Outside, the flashing lights continued their steady rhythm, reflecting off the side mirror of Angela's car, casting brief, shifting shadows across her still figure, and for a second, he noticed how unmoving she was, how there was no visible frustration, no restless motion, just a calm presence that did not align with the tension he expected to see. It unsettled him in a way he could not immediately name, not because it challenged his authority directly, but because it did not respond to it in the way he was used to. Brooks glanced again toward her vehicle, narrowing his eyes slightly, as if trying to read something from a distance that could not be measured or confirmed through any system he had access to, something that lived entirely outside the structure he relied on. The radio crackled again, pulling his attention back for a brief moment, a dispatcher's voice cutting through with another call somewhere miles away, another situation unfolding, another decision waiting to be made, and yet he did not move to respond, did not close the door or shift gears, because this moment had not resolved itself in the way he expected. He turned back to the screen, watching as the system processed the information, the small loading symbols spinning with quiet indifference, and in that pause, stretched thin between action and outcome, something unfamiliar began to take shape, not doubt exactly, but a subtle awareness that this stop, this seemingly ordinary interaction, was not aligning with the script he had followed so many times before. He tightened his grip on the license slightly, then loosened it again, adjusting his posture as if to reset his control over the situation. But the stillness outside remained unchanged, and as the screen flickered, preparing to return the information he had requested, one thing became quietly undeniable. Whatever came next was going to define this moment far more than anything that had already happened. The soft glow from the patrol car's screen finally stabilized, casting a steady light across Officer Brooks's face as the system returned its results, lines of data appearing in clean, ordered rows that offered no immediate disruption, no alert, no signal that anything about this stop should have stood out in the first place. And yet the absence of confirmation only deepened the quiet tension that had begun to take hold. He stared at the information longer than necessary, scanning through it once, then again, as if repetition might reveal something that instinct alone had failed to justify. But everything remained exactly as it should be: valid license, clean record, no outstanding issues, nothing that aligned with the edge he had brought into the encounter. Outside, Angela Carter remained still, her silhouette framed by the alternating lights, her presence unchanged, neither shrinking under scrutiny nor pushing back against it, simply existing with a kind of calm that did not seek permission. Brooks exhaled slowly, closing his eyes for a brief second before opening them again, as if resetting his focus, then reached for the door and stepped out into the night, the air cooler now against his skin, carrying a faint breeze that moved through the quiet space between the two vehicles. He approached her car with measured steps, the gravel beneath his boots crunching softly, each sound more noticeable in the stillness. And when he reached the window, he did not immediately speak. As though searching for a tone that would restore the authority, he felt slipping into something less certain. Angela turned her head slightly,